right, welcome into Grease Bowl championship episode. But we got Andrew finally. It's been a couple months, and we got our new member Dan also here. Let's start by introducing ourselves before we get any further here. Andrew, you start out.
Perfect, yeah. So Andrew, in the league, RB Squishy or Old Man. So I've been playing fantasy football for kind of a couple years here and there. Never really jumped into Dynasty, but I've been doing it really the last couple years. I think 2 to be exact. So going into my 3rd season Dynasty. So this is Grease Bowl has turned into one of my favorite leagues. So I'm excited to keep diving into it with y'all and talk about the chip run that I went on there.
Awesome. How about you, Dan?
And yeah, I'm Dan. I've been playing Dynasty for a few years now. I've been playing fantasy football for much longer than that. Pretty much like a couple decades or so since I was in high school. So yeah, it's been a long time passion. And I am new to the Grease Bowl league that we are all in. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Blake. For I don't know if I've ever introduced myself on here in the episodes I've done. But it's actually funny. I'm pretty new to even football in general. Like I've only been watching it a decade, and I'm 24 because I'm from Canada, and I just was obsessed with hockey, like an unhealthy amount. And then one year when I started playing football, then it all transferred to football.
Life changed, baby.
I was in denial, and then I just accepted it that I'm just a massive NFL fan, and now I don't care anything about hockey. So. So just naturally, it took me a minute to get into fantasy. Big thing is I was a big Madden player. Basically until this past year. I don't know if I ever even mentioned this to anyone. Last year I was playing Madden, pro Madden player. I won about $20,000 to $21,000 playing Madden. Nothing crazy, but.
It's pretty damn crazy.
Community, people have won over $1 million, and those are the guys I'd be playing against. It's just I haven't won a massive tournament or anything. But I'm done. It's pretty stressful. Fantasy football's my new passion. It's much less stressful. But with that being said, let's get into the episode here. That's about you, Andrew, and let's start off. Congratulations, you dominated the playoffs. That's, pretty much an understatement. In the championship, I believe you outscored him by 100 points.
Yes.
You played Cody, and it was not all sunshine and rainbows. We'll get to that. Let's start with all the way back at the draft.
Okay.
And there were some ups and downs.
Yeah.
Did you have a strategy going the draft? Did it play out how you planned it? Just tell us a little bit about that.
For sure. So, big picture with startup drafts, I've usually, I guess I'm pretty chalky when it comes to, wanting to get 2 elite QBs, build out the wide receiver room, try to get a top whatever tight end. So, I'm kind of pretty chalky in my mindset when it comes into the draft. And then when things unfold, I get the 112. Things just went a little differently, and I was maybe experimenting a little bit. So, with the draft, I guess I tried to change my tune. I got Bijan, or I got the 101 rookie pick in the startup at the 112, and then I went CD at that turn. And I think about halfway through that second round, I started feeling like, oh crap, I don't have an elite QB like I want.
Yeah.
And so Diggs, Blake, me and you made a trade that I did find the details for. I know
me too. Yeah,
for sure. We did a swap of thirds, and then you got my 7th. And I got an 11th back with it. So some juicy swaps, and for me, obviously I loved it getting Dak there to pair up with the CD. Which it settled my, I guess, brain a little bit, thinking, okay, if I'm essentially trading my 301 to get Dak, in my head, it justified it. So I was happy from there. Now things could have gone off the rail, but didn't, is at the 4-5 turn. I got Christian Watson and Dameon Pierce, which looking back,
not the hottest 4-5.
Not the hottest.
It looked good on paper last year. I will say it wasn't Pierce, but I was a big Watson guy.
So I guess at that point, I was kind of thinking like, all right, let's build like this kind of young, high upside team with the CD, with the Bijan, Watson, Pierce, and for the most part, I kind of kept to that tune until I guess later on, which I loved getting Jared Goff at the 6-12.
Yeah.
I think I was probably higher on Goff than some people going in. So if I could get maybe not elite, I think it's hard to throw him in the elite category for fantasy, but a great QB2, getting him to the 6-12. And I actually got DJ Moore from you in the 6th round because I traded a first for him. We just did a 25 or 24 first for the 6th round startup straight up. I want to say that's because earlier in that draft, someone also traded a first for a pick, and I think that was just kind of the price that was established.
It was right before. It was Dan's team, and it was Miles Sanders for a first.
Oh God, that's terrible
for the 103.
I think it ended up being the 105 or something like that. I think it
was 104. Yeah,
it was bad
or something.
Yeah. So getting more there,
that's funny.
That helped kind of round out the room. But I think the story of this, my whole draft and how I even got to this position is all of the late round picks that just absolutely nailed. We got, Njoku popped off at the towards the tail end of the year. I've always just secretly had like a thing for him too, but we'll talk about him later. But the late round picks that popped off, Trey McBride going in the 15th, Nico in the 16th, Hiron in the 21st.
Exactly.
Literally that's the triple crown of late round picks that hit for me that you can see why this team can get in the position of being in the playoffs and championship run, just having those upside guys that by the end of the year were just producing for me. So could have gone wrong at the 4 or 5 turn, but I guess redeemed myself with the late round pick. So it was just kind of the stars aligned with the draft strategy. Overall, when I look back at it, pretty much happy with it. I got a lot of things and a lot of boxes I check. Going into the season, it didn't look too hot. It wasn't one of those things that I walked away like super thrilled with, and the power rankings and but overall,
that was another thing. I actually let's jump into that. I had a best draft pick. Let's actually hold on. I forgot to mention for anyone that's watching that isn't in this league. This is a 0.5 tight end premium, so 1.5 per catch on the tight end. Yeah. Start 10 full PPR. Obviously super flex. You can kind of see his lineup filled out there. Mm-hmm. And no bonuses, nothing like that. Just pretty standard scoring, I would say.
Nothing crazy.
And what I found interesting is when going into your best draft picks, Laporta's not on there, but he could be with wherever he would have went in the rookie draft. I wasn't sure where it was, but I'm assuming somewhere in the 2nd. And
it was actually the end of the 1st.
Really?
So
that's the highest I ever would have seen.
I guess I didn't even mention that those rookie picks also kind of worked out for me. I got the 101 with Flowers, and then I got Flowers and Laporta back to back. I think it was 10 and 11 or 9 and 10. I don't know.
Okay.
But both of those, Laporta is obviously a massive hit. Flowers, I'm happy with year 1 Flowers, but if anyone in the Grace Bowl wants to make a deal for him, let's hear it. But that's. I was kind of higher on Laporta going into the season. There's a guy on Twitter that was the biggest Laporta stan, and he was talking about if you can get him in the 3rd, do it every time, and then just his price just kept rising and rising. I think people just realized what he could be, and luckily for me, he lived up to it.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was the big thing with your team. You took your shot on 3 tight ends. They all panned out, and not only did they all pan out, they were going nuclear in basically
at the end of the season. It was disgusting.
Basically by week even maybe 9-10, it was okay, you own the top 3 tight ends basically, and you don't even need to worry about anything on your roster because you hit I had a list of your best draft picks. It was Trey McBride at the 15-1, Nico Collins at 16-12, Kyron 12-1, Njoku 11-5, and Goff at 6-12. We can add Laporta on there. Honestly, you didn't really the picks that you hit on, and it made up for
it outweighed the bad.
Yeah, exactly. Even looking at your 10, I think it was your 10-11 turn, you had Dulcich and Juju, which were zeros. I don't think you would ever started them, and
I don't think I did because Dulcich barely played this season. I think
he played like 20 snaps. Like,
and then Juju was just obviously a big letdown. He probably could have seen that one coming off the Chiefs boost. And then I had Isaiah Likely too step up when Andrews is out. So I definitely had a little tight end university going on towards the end of the year. And I wish Dan could have been there to see it, but maybe he'll see it this season then.
Yeah, so
we can keep talking about like this.
So Andrew, when did you know that you had a contender on your hands? Was it after the startup draft? Was it after the rookie draft? Did it take like a few games into the season? And then also, how did you like manage this team throughout the season? Were there any big trades or pickups that you made?
Good question. I definitely didn't feel like, I have this juggernaut going this season, but I didn't feel like it was as bad as Blake portrayed it out to be in the power rankings. I think going into the season, obviously, like with the Dak, with Goff, I was just probably higher on guys that there weren't like top guys, but they're guys that I was like, I feel like I can get numbers out of them, and you never know once you get to the playoffs. In terms of in season, I actually did very little when it came to in season. I didn't make any trades during the season. The only move of note was picking up Demarcus Robinson for like 20 fab towards the end of the season, which it could have been helpful if I needed a starter because he was pumping out numbers towards the end of the year. But essentially, I had my wide receiver spots on lock with Collins and Lamb, and my flex spots were just all my tight ends doing work.
Yeah.
But it was nice to have a little bit of insurance there if I needed it, and never hurts to get a guy for fab, and that you can potentially turn in some value later. So
right. So
I always felt like this team was close and good, but my win-loss record throughout the year was just like kind of up and down. I lost a few close ones. Like week 1, I lost by a point. I was like, and then week 7 to 9, I lost by like 6 and 1 point. So I was close. I would have some big blow-up games, so where you would see the ceiling of this team, but I also have some like 89 point, 90 point, just a few kind of like bye week games. But
right. And
once I kind of saw like, if I can get into the playoffs, this team is starting to explode.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the thinking with like not really making many trades? Did you just kind of feel like you had everything you needed and there was no need to spend future draft capital? You were just kind of content? Or, was there any strategy behind that?
Probably not the best answer here. I don't think I had this league in the top of my priorities.
Oh, okay.
I think I learned my limit in terms of dynasty leagues. I think I got it I jumped into the deep end, let's say, and I wasn't able to prioritize the time that I want to and I love to do. Just because other leagues, I was maybe doing a bit more like rehauling, and like it took big stuff, like lots of discussions and stuff like that. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it was on the back burner. I mean, it's a nice buy-in league, and I'm invested in it in that sense, but I wasn't running the trades every day. I'm not in the DMs all the times, but like I said, this is one of the leagues that I'm turned into that now, and the managers in this league have just been so communicative and open to that dialogue that I love that. I think that's what Dynasty is built upon, is that dialogue between owners. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
That is the truthful answer behind why there weren't many moves made.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, the other thing I should mention for anyone watching as well is that like how this league is only we were like it's pretty clear now. That was our first season, so we're going into our second, or well, actually probably I guess our first off season. And
it's 12 teams.
Basically how this 12 teams. How this league even got formed is I just decided to start it because I was in some other leagues. I was itching for another startup, and I was in I'm in like 3 leagues with a lot of the people in here.
Yeah.
Like just through like the BGGE, like kind of like bot, like creating leagues. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, man, like it was so funny. Like you keep seeing the same names pop up, but it's like 7 drafts later. It's like, man, we're all degenerates. Like,
yeah, right.
We're all itching for some dynasty.
What are we doing here? We're just all looking at each other like Spider-Man, like, hey, you again. Look at us.
Yeah, exactly. And then you naturally just like start talking like maybe trades or whatever. And there's like, I remember I was talking to you and Eric and RJ, especially like Billy. And so it was like immediately like you guys were just like pop out. And so I was like, kind of handpicking who to join the league. And so it was like everyone that I've kind of had a conversation with seems to be active. And like, I think we did a pretty good job. Like this is.
So. And I think Dan's been the perfect filler here too, to kind of shake up like the snow globe a little bit. with a lot of these maybe like lower tier moves. It's like I think this league was used to seeing just like hammers passed around, but having Dan kind of like shake up some of these benches and stuff has been very refreshing.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, Dan, you're a breath of fresh air because the only problem we've had with we sort of had like two problems with an owner. One is a guy that I know like through Madden, and then he has like a channel with or like an Instagram with like over 100,000, and he made like 50 leagues. So like he just did not. He was not like active during the season, and so we replaced him, and then with who replaced? Oh yeah, so Coda replaced him. Coda's a guy I know through like Xbox. Like I've known him for a very long time, and like he's a big NFL guy, but like fantasy, he's doing a really good job at picking it up very fast. And then basically Dan, you can explain how we met each other, how you got in this league.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, I was brought into another dynasty league. I think it was my third dynasty league, and I think the first message I got on there was a message from Blake asking if he could get Sam Laporta for a third. So that was the start of our dialogue.
That's what he went for. That's what he went for.
And I'm like, I'm a Lions fan, and I kind of think he's going to be pretty good. So I think I'll just hang on to him.
I think I'll hold.
Yeah, exactly.
Diamond hands, baby.
Yeah. But yeah, we would kind of like talk throughout the season, but it's kind of just like recently that we started like chatting more, and then you mentioned that he had a league with an orphan team in it, that being the Grease Bowl, and so I joined that. And then before I knew it, then there was another league that he was doing a startup draft in. He's like, hey, you want to be co-manager? And so now like things are just kind of blown up. So I'm in like 6 leagues now when I, when I was just like in like, 2 or 3, not too long ago. So it started to just kind of blow up now. And I'm not used to being in so many. I kind of feel like I'm at my limit already. But it's been a lot of fun.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's good to have you in Grease Bowl. Like you're the perfect addition. Like you fit right in. And then also just like probably maybe 3-4 weeks ago, like we really started. I don't even really know how. We just really started to rev up talking. I'd already been kind of talking to RB on and off like throughout the season, just being in many leagues with him. And then and I remember RB said he would join on like very early in like when I was doing my first episode, and then the only problem is I had no idea how to. No, I had no idea how to implement you. So I'm glad I'm glad you won the league, so it made it even easier.
Yeah, it did.
We had to get you on here.
Perfect.
So yeah, then here we are. But
excited to keep it going.
But yeah, I think to kind of answer
the brainwaves going with Dynasty.
I was just gonna say, Blake, kind of like answering the question you were alluding to there about like how we started like talking more. I think it was when I was watching a Dynasty Trades in 5 episode, and I saw your trade come up on you donated a hammer. And I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Of course Blake would do that. I kind of had a feeling that we both watched that channel because you had mentioned some like term that like, I think
wins above replacement.
I'm trying to remember what it was now. It's something about like roster construction or leverage or like. I'm like, oh wait a minute. Oh no, wait. It was war. You mentioned war. I'm like, oh boy, like he knows what war is. Yeah. So I kind of had a feeling, and then I ended up seeing your trade on a show, and then I messaged you about it, and I think that's when we started connecting more.
Yeah, that's funny. I was in Mexico, so like that's the least active like I've been. I'm generally like with fantasy, like I'm probably one of the most active. I am the most like active guy basically in there at all times. It's just like I don't have a kid. Like I'm in school. Like you get to live that life, and I just
time to be active in Dynasty.
No, exactly. I love football. I love Dynasty. I'm not in enough leagues, but I'm gonna stay where I'm at so I can keep.
You're in enough leagues. I promise.
Active. I think we're like 8 or 9 or something now, but
that's a good number.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So another thing I wanted to add in is with Dan. First time we talked with Sam Laporta, you hit me back with a trade for Puka. And you were trying to get him. Well, I don't remember what you offered. Maybe a third. And,
come on!
So I find that funny. Like,
come on, it was better than that. Puka.
We were both shortchanging.
We were both. But like, this is preseason, right? Like, this is. I don't even know if the preseason happened.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it was before either of them had broken out. So yeah.
No, like they were. Yeah, they were still worth like whatever. Like
okay.
So yeah,
thirds
we were both
whatever.
clearly onto those two guys, and we were both trying to like buy up shares so we can get them on the cheap a little bit. So that was pretty funny.
No, exactly. So it's a good thing. I guess we didn't make any deals there, but it worked out for both of us.
Yeah. And then I ended up trading you Laporta in that league just recently. We made a deal.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about that another time.
Yeah, exactly. I've been a little back and forth about that, but honestly, I've been feeling a little bit better recently. I think it was a good trade.
I think it was fair. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll end up seeing in a year. That's how Dynasty works. I guess it's you never know until you really know it down the road. But anyways, do we have anything else we want to add here? I think it's pretty good.
I mean, last thing that I want to chime in about just my team in particular and moving forward is I really could have had this league by a chokehold. With speaking of Puka Nacua, earlier in the season, right at the trade deadline, I had offered Christian Watson in a second for Puka Nacua, and it went quiet for a little bit. But then I get a message at I don't know, soon after the deadline, because I think it hit during the day, maybe around 11 or noon, and essentially the guy wanted to accept it, but the deadline had passed, and I was like, "Oh, go ask Diggs," because I was like, "Okay, this dude's legit. If I can get off Watson for him, the deadline had passed, so I did not get Puka on this team, and I will forever kick myself for not messaging him more and making it happen."
Yeah.
But
Commissioner clearly rigged it. I didn't
clearly with the.
You had to have to me
5 elite
shortly
receivers, not
after.
just 4.
Yeah, it was maybe, I don't know, it was maybe an hour after or something, but I can't remember what week it was, maybe week 13 or something. Yeah. And I had already extended the deadline though, to the midnight of the Monday instead of the end of the game or whatever, because that's when Sleeper closes it. So I extended it a few hours, and I'm like, well, who am I to extend it again just to slip through trades through? And then funny enough, I ended up with Puka in a trade I was very happy about. But again, we'll see how that plays out, and we can definitely talk about there's been tons of trades. I've been in probably half of them, just hammers being thrown around left and right. Yeah. We'll have probably shortly here just an episode dedicated, I think, to just going over trades. And let's do one. Let's do one quick here. We have 7 minutes left, tops here.
Ooh, okay.
You
Which
made a trade.
Talk about? Mine. Okay, let's talk about mine.
You got Mahomes back. You didn't have to give up your 2025 first.
Yes.
And tell us what you got.
Yeah. So this was shortly in the beginning of the off season. I can't remember exactly, but it probably was somewhere in January, or January. What am I saying? Probably somewhere late February, maybe early March. I can't remember exactly. But when I looked at my team and I saw Blake make some moves and other teams, I'm not going to just be like, oh, this team can just run it back. I'm not the run it back type of person. So when I was thinking about this team, it's like, okay, well, what am I really missing, I guess? And I was like, I don't have a top quarterback. They did good for me, but I don't have a top one. I was like, is there a way I could maybe cash in on some of the hype? Or I guess my philosophy with running backs too is usually just kind of, I view them, or I try to as best I can view them in just a short window. So could I cash in on any of the hype of, I don't know, Bijan, Kyron, then some of the tight ends I was looking at. So I went and offered Jared Goff, David Njoku, and Kyron Williams for Patrick Mahomes. There was no dialogue. There was nothing. It just got accepted. And I was very happy about that when I saw it happen. Blake, I know in season, or for a while there, we were doing some back and forth on Bijan with some quarterbacks, some Flowers.
Yeah.
We were doing
from week
big
1
trades,
from week 3 or something. I remember I was in Minnesota. We were talking about Bijan. I was
looking through my transactions. I saw a lot of rejected trades between us about those dynamics. So it'd be interesting if that had gone through, what this would look like, because Herbert was the quarterback I would have got.
And he would have been hurt, right? So
So
I was just saying.
So I was just say. Oh, so you got that.
Andrew, I was just going to ask. So with that trade, are you thinking that's more of a long-term move? Do you think that hurts you in the short term, maybe a little bit? And what's kind of your approach heading into this season? Are you, kind of penciling in, that you're, contending and feeling about your team, or do you kind of look at it as maybe taking a little step back and just kind of seeing how things go?
Yeah, great question. I think for the Mahomes trade, anytime you're going to pile in like 3, not just like turning to dust assets, I think there's a little bit of you're projecting it to pay off long term.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, getting off of Goff, Njoku, Kyron, it's like in the short term, I might really hate seeing Kyron keep popping off. But when I think of like Njoku, Goff, I don't think I'll ever feel too bad about like losing out on them in the long term. Now, again, short term, I might feel one way or the other, but I think anytime you're acquiring like a Mahomes type, Allen type, it's going to be pretty hard over any span of time to be really hard pressed about it.
Yeah.
And it still fits my ideology of like, of course, Williams could be amazing. He could get hurt in training camp. You never know. It's like guys can go from RB5 to like RB20 in the span of weeks, months. So I'm just trying to like, I guess, go by this mindset I have and go into it. So I think for this season, I might feel that points per game loss kind of up front. And I think maybe one of my things I'm looking to do is consolidate some of I have a lot of like wide receiver 15 through 25s right now. So if you're in the Grease Bowl, you've probably gotten some DMs from me about me looking for a little bit more of like an elite option to pair with CD. So I'm trying to maybe just consolidate a little bit to maybe make up for some of that point per game loss. But I still see this as a fringe contender. I don't think by any stretch would I say this is like the elite, but what I do like is having good pieces in spots that I value. I have 2 quarterbacks I love. I'm kind of running like hero RB right now with Bijan and legitimately no RB2 against Dameon Pierce. But I don't know where I heard it, but for the longest time I've had this mentality of if RB2 is your weakest position, you're doing okay.
Yep.
Especially to start 10, right? So
that's kind of where I'm at. I have some picks. Like I didn't ditch away a lot of capital throughout the season, so I'm still feeling like I can make some moves. I can maybe upgrade one of the wide receiver positions. I have 2 of the top, like who knows, maybe 3 tight ends right now. So I'm happy with where the team's at. I think it'll be one of those just kind of play it out. Definitely be more involved throughout the season to make moves if I maybe need to be a bit more desperate. But right now it's just consolidating, getting some more value if I can.
Yeah, but I can see why you made that move. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just such like a evergreen asset, versus like Kyron Williams, like, he could turn to dust at any moment. So, did you consider losing the Goff Laporta stack at all? Like, did you consider that or
that's why I'm shocked you never had to give that up. Like, I would assume that would have been a little more
I do think about that, but I don't think when I was thinking about it, I considered it too heavily. Because with the tight end premium, I guess I'm not obviously just player value wise, war wise, Laporta is providing more value than like Goff is. So if I have to lose part of the stack, it'd be Goff in that equation.
Right.
So that wasn't like the biggest deal. And having Dak and Mahomes, it's like I feel solid there. QB3, that's a different story. I don't even know who I have. So
you definitely killed the trade like value wise, but obviously like once you're out of the startup draft, things can kind of get wonky, and obviously like with Raider, what he wanted to do, like that's it kind of you guys found a way there, but we're running out of time here, so we'll keep it at that, and then we'll hit with
perfect.
We'll be back soon with probably trades. And maybe some rookie stuff. So
thank you. Appreciate y'all giving me an episode. This is awesome.
Dude, this was your episode. So congratulations. We'll figure out the trophy.
Let's do it. Okay. I'll have it loud and proud somewhere whenever it comes. I'm excited just to run the rest of the season and keep talking with y'all and just let the brain juices flow.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Dan, for coming on.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. And should we say like and subscribe? Are we going to be those guys that say that?